Here we go. What is up, YouTube? HCJ here, and I'm coming at you guys today because we're going to be taking a look at the OCG's Forbidden Limited List, which comes into effect July 1st of this year. So you're only a few weeks away, OCG, from your Forbidden Limited List being changed. Now, the changes here are quite crazy, and I'm sure a lot of people are hoping that some of these changes happen to the TCG. Now, with that said, I just want to point out that this is the OCG's list. There may not be tellings if it affected the TCG's current list, or it may affect the TCG's next list, or if the TCG's list affected the changes on this list. We may never know. But I do make these videos because I want to discuss these things and let you know what my opinions are on them. If you have your opinions, of course, you can leave them in the comment section below. So, with that said, and us taking a look at it while we go ahead and look at the list and the changes that are affecting it. So there isn't a timestamp on when the list itself will change again for the OCG, but given as how the last one was in February, this one is in July, so I'll probably say maybe November or December for the next list. Because the OCG's is a lot longer than the TCG's Forbidden Limited list, I have to say. A lot longer. I wish the TCG's was like that, but I understand some people want a shorter list, so it is what it is. Alright, so with that said, let's go ahead and let's go through each section, and then we'll talk about the cards themselves. So first off is the Forbidden section. We have Totally Awesome, Crystal Harpie 5Rex, and Vanity's Emptiness joining the Forbidden section. For the limited section, we have Eva, we have Spellbook of Judgment Day, and we have Branded Opening. For the semi-limited section, we have Flawanderies and the Magnificent Map, we have Gen-X Ally Birdman, and Branded Fusion. Then for the unlimited section, we have Orcus Horror, Harmonizing Magician, Night Assailant, Thunder Dragon's Roar, Low Fire Blossom, Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, The Beginning of the End, Wind Up Zen Mighty, Raigeki, Divine Wind of the Mist Valley, and I should remember this card. Star Soul Emergence. There we go. So yeah, all these cards, their OCG names are here as well. And don't worry, I leave links to stuff like this in the description box below in case you want to check it out yourself. So with that said, there's a lot of things we have to pick through, and I want to kind of keep this video short, so we're going to do that. I think the first thing to talk about is, of course, the Forbidden section. Seeing as how another mighty floodgate is getting forbidden, both the TCG and OCG can agree floodgates can be a problem. And one of their biggest floodgates is still around is Vanity's Emptiness. Now, this is a card that was forbidden in the OCG about, 8 years ago. I want to say 2014 or so? 2013, 2014? I think it was around the time they banned Vanity's Emptiness. I think it was 2014, because 6 Cents was also banned, and they brought that back for a format for the TCG. They sure did. It was at 1, and it didn't last too long. So, for obvious reasons why it got banned and unbanned. But, yeah, this is a card that did see a lot of play in the TCG. And I think, might have been later on, too, that it ended up getting banned. Was this around when Pendulum was around? I have a weird feeling I think Vanity's Emptiness probably was around a little longer. Up until a point of Pendulum, and I think it got forbidden. But Vanities is a pretty nasty card, and what it does is that while it's on the field, neither player can special summon. And if you sent a card from your field, hand, or deck to the graveyard, it would destroy itself. So yeah, it is a pretty easy card to get around or to destroy, but the benefits of it were definitely a floodgate-esque card, and yeah, this card had to be hit eventually. I'm actually shocked that it was still around in the OCG. Maybe it's probably a good side tack against decks, so, and that's why they said it's too much of a easy go-to card to just splash into the decks. That happens to a lot of cards. Being of easy splash into decks, Harpie 5Rex is now finally forbidden. And this card kind of just does its own doing. Now, it was part of the reason why a lot of tuner monsters in both the TCG and OCG were on the Forbidden Limited list if they weren't already powerful enough as it was. Another addition to it is just the fact that Harpie 5Rex has a lot of ways to assist decks even by grabbing one measly tuner. And it doesn't even have to be a tuner of that archetype, because most archetypes don't have tuners. What it is just that the effects of Harpie Firex is he can bring out any tuner monster from your deck. Then he can immediately, during either player's turn, send himself to the graveyard to special summon a tuner synchro monster to the board. So one of the things here as part of a combo of a deck is that it combos into putting, what is his name? Artifact Scythe on your board. Then during your opponent's turn, you can pop the Harpie Firex, and then its ability to summon a monster from the extra deck. One of them is TG Wonder Magician, who her ability is that when she is special summoned, she can destroy any spell or trap card on the field, and you destroy your Artifact Scythe. And then that Scythe will special summon itself, and then it will create a floodgate of its own to where your opponent can't special summon from the extra deck. And most decks nowadays do special summon from the extra deck, so it is a very hard card to get around, and it's a pretty nasty card to try to get around. It's a really, really nasty situation. But yeah, that is just something that, you know, eventually the TCG might see the forbidding of Harpie Firex. Totally Awesome is another card that's on this list because of its interaction with a meta deck, and it happens to be the splice of Frog and Sprite. Splice is a new archetype in the OCG that came out in Powers of the Elements, and I do believe that we in the TCG will be getting Powers of the Elements soon as our end of the summer set. So yeah, do expect them to start running around during the last couple of parts of the format, because most def, that deck is really, really good, and it takes advantage of stuff like DC Diva, Frog, especially, you know, Totally Awesome as being one of its negates for a deck that can build massive amounts of Omni negates within its own abilities and own effects. Yeah, and it's a pretty nasty thing, so I'm sure that's part of the reason why Totally Awesome had to be hit. And plus, it just generated so much recovery for its own self, because it can send itself back to the deck once it was sent from the field to the grave. So yeah, and then on top of that, it can get stuff from your opponent too that it negated. Yo, yeah, this card had to definitely go. Alright, moving on from there, we gotta talk about two cards that I'm actually shocked at being brought back, and I do believe both of these cards were forbidden. No, Eva was unlimited, but now it's limited. And then Orcos, not Orcos, but the Spellbook of Judgment Day. Yeah, that card. Oh my gosh, Spellbook of Judgment Day. That is a card I have not seen in years. Spellbook of Judgment Day was actually forbidden around 2013 upon the year it was released. And this card made Spellbooks very nasty to deal with. It was basically why some people consider Spellbooks tier 0 because of how much it generated through its own effect. So what Spellbook of Judgment Day does is that at the end of the turn, you activated this card. For the number of spell cards that you played this turn, you can add from your deck to your hand that many number of Spellbook spell cards. Then you can special summon one spellcaster type monster whose level is equal to or less than the total number of Spellbook spell cards you searched for through this card's effect. And you only use this card once per turn. Now you're saying, for something that's a hard once per turn, what was so nasty about it? Well, Spellbooks had access to two very nasty spellcasters. One was Yagan the Spiritualist, who has the ability to destroy special summon monsters, and has the ability to discard a card from his hand at random to destroy all special summon monsters that are on the field. So a monster that can destroy special summon monsters, and the ability to randomly, not randomly discard, but the effects to negate, to stop your opponent and yourself from special summoning monsters, while also having the ability to destroy special summoning monsters, is a pretty nasty thing. And the fact that a spell card can help search and special summon that, yeah, it is a pretty nasty thing. The other effect is, its ability to search for spellbook spells, and a lot of the spellbook spell cards are pretty nasty. Especially Spellbook of Fate, because that card's effect does not target. Even though it says target, I think it's ruled that because of its other effects or how it's generated, you don't know which effect is going to be occurring. You don't know what the outcome of it is going to be. So they ruled it as that card does not target. And that ended up leading to why Spellbook of Fate ended up being limited for so long, because of how weird wordings are with the Yu-Gi-Oh card game, because that's what it is. Then Kaiku was an answer to many a decks, even probably some now, where the ability to that you can't banish cards from your graveyard, and that can hurt a lot of decks as well. Not being able to banish. So it was a lot of things that a lot of decks had to run to get over. One of them was anti-spell fragrance. Um, Cards like Last Day of Witch to destroy all spellcasters, and then just having to play around Jalkin the Spiritualist or Kaiku to go destroy by running some monsters who can easily take them out. Eva! Eva has been banned in the TCG, and that's simply because of Drytron and Herald. Mainly Herald, because what Eva does is that if Eva's ever tributed, you can add to your hand two level 2 fairy type monsters. One of them can easily be Herald of Orange Light, who can discard another fairy from the hand to negate the activation of a monster effect and destroy it. So yeah, it's another hand trap. And then Diviner of Herald has the ability to search for Herald support even more. Yeah, it's just like Eva. One day you're gonna see ban in the OCG pretty soon, because Drytron Herald was a thing, and Drytron even not only didn't have to utilize Herald, but it was utilizing Cyber Angels, because some of the Cyber Angels could search for light attribute monsters and take advantage of that. So yeah, just think you should be very glad that Eva is forbidden here in the TCG, because having that much access to cards that have that much negation attached to them, yeah, you do not want them. Alright. And then moving on is branded opening, and this also relates to branded fusion. They're just trying to hit branded as much as they can so that their new support doesn't have much stuff to go to, and they can make more money. Alright, moving on from there. GNX Ally Birdman and Flowander Ease Magnificent Map. Floowanderies is just getting their hit now because that deck's really, really good. And it's probably just a light tap. I would not be surprised if they hit more Floowanderies cards, because Jesus Christ, that deck is basically normal summon the bird, the bird, the bird, the Risa. And it can get pretty nasty. It's one of those decks that can still generate monsters like, what's it? Various Statue of Stormwind and Miss Valley Apex Avian without trouble, because of them being winged beasts are just having the ability to be normal summon and have them stand in the field. GNX Ally Birdman. And actually another card that's changed on the list, Divine Wind of the Mist Valley. These two cards were actually hit previously to 1 for a long period of time. And the reason why was because there was FTKs created around Divine Wind of the Mist Valley, primarily because of the effect of Harpie Dancer. And then on top of that, the other deck that Ally Birdman was used was in Gallus deck. So you guys don't know what Gallus is. Gallus Star Beast is a effect monster who has the ability to send the card from the top of your deck to the graveyard and then inflict damage to your opponent equal to the level of that monster times 300. Then you assess a summon Gallus Star Beast. So what Gallus at that point helped generate was an all monster deck full of nothing but really powerful monsters, lots of hand traps, and things to negate. It's pretty nasty. I'm not even gonna lie. I used to run Gallus FTK, OTK, and yeah, you can OTK and you can FTK, because you can summon stuff like Trishula. I mean, not Trishula. Well, you can summon Trish, but you can also summon stuff like what is it? Blackluster Soldier, sit on a Christia, have interactions with getting rid of tons of things that your deck would have to deal with. But I ran a Chaos variant of it. There's a Fairy variant of it. There's so many different variants of it. And it's like I said, it's a really nasty deck. But it is a really powerful deck that had to be hit in conjunction. Because, even stuff with Veiler and Ash and stuff nowadays, those are kind of cards you don't want to, discard. But yeah, it just created, it was part of a really burning combo. Because you would summon Kakimiru Doom, you would activate the effects of Gallus. Gallus will send the monster. You would the card of your deck to the grave. Normally it's going to be a monster. You search summon the Gallus, then you would reveal the Birdman to bounce back the Gallus. Due to the effects of Clocky Mirror Doom, Dark and Light monsters effects can be activated during the main phases as while it's face up on the field. So your cost is to bounce back the Gallus. Your effect is to search the summon of the Birdman. And because the Birdman could not be properly summoned, due to the effects of it, it would stay in the hand. Of the Doom, it would stay in the hand. So you will repeat this till basically you burn your opponent's life points to 0. And it's a deck. It is a deck. And I used to run it. And I actually thought I wanted pieces for it. So, and just to get more pieces because of how the game itself is fluctuating. With that said, we're going to move down to Divine Wind of the Mist Valley, as it's one of the mini cards that have been unlimited. So because of the FTK that included Gallus, which was the Harpie. It wasn't the Harpie that it got limited for. It was because it wasn't Gallus that got Divine Wind limited. It was because of the deck with Dancer that got it limited. Now, even though Dancer says it's once per turn, it is the effect of Divine Wind of the Mist Valley to bring back level 4 Allure wind monsters from the deck that circulated while it got forbidden, because you could go get Gnex, because the monster that this helped create, your end board, was nothing but a bunch of Bombardment Phoenixes. You don't know who Bombardment Phoenix is. It's a fusion monster who requires 1 Pyro monster and 1 machine type monster. And that when it is fusion summoned, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the number of cards on the field times, I believe it was 300 or 400. So how the deck worked was that you would activate Divine Wind of Mist Valley, you'd bounce back Harpie Dancer to give yourself a normal summon of a different monster. Then you would trigger the Divine Wind. The Divine Wind would help you go get Gnex Blast Fan. So Gnex Ally Blast Fan would come to the field, and it would search for Gnex Ally Birdman. Then you would summon the Birdman off of that. You synchro, you make the Ancient Fairy Dragon, you pop the Divine Wind, you get another one, and then you would basically do all of these effects to chain into multiple summons. So then you would get to cards like the Symbol of Heritage, which help through the effects of Power Tool Dragon. Then you would be able to go get back the Symbol of Heritage, the Symbol of Heritage to go get the Ancient Fairy, to the point where you go get Black Garden's effect to generate tokens on the field for every time a monster was to be special summoned. So while you're special summoning all these monsters to your opponent's side of the field, then at that point, you're going to use the effects of the Ancient Fairy Dragon to blow up the build spell, and then go get Fusion Gate. And then you would go into these monsters. You'd also use Stratos so you can search for Pyro monster, either Elemental Hero Heat or Elemental Hero Lady Heat. And then that would generate even more things. Because then you can use the material of a machine monster and a Pyro monster to generate the Gnex, to generate the monster known as Bombardment Phoenix, and then it just start burning your opponent's life points away. It's a pretty nasty deck. It has like 30 combos that you have to execute correctly and different ways to enter the combo. But yeah, Divine Wind of Mist Valley has to be hit with it. And I mean, it can come back down because Ancient Fairy Dragon's banned. Stratos is at 3, but that really doesn't help too much there. But yeah, your main support card is gone, and it can't, deal with that anymore. So it's why this card says. I think that's pretty much it for a lot of the cards here on this list. Is that a lot of them are here because they're not as much of a threat as they used to be. There's a lot of things that can counter them, or the meta itself has changed, and that happens a lot when it comes to cards like that. Or the biggest thing ever is, of course, erratas. And erratas can really hurt a card. That's kind of why Night Assailant is here, because Night Assailant had a big errata attached to it, where it cannot pick up copies of itself. It has to pick up different monsters. So yeah, those are the different monsters. That means flip monsters. This is the fact is to retrieve flip monsters from the grave. So yeah, there's a lot of cards here that I'm very shocked are not at 3 in the OCG, but I guess maybe because they're different play styles. That's why a lot of these cards were not, at multiples there, but is here. Except for Orchis Corp 4. That card's not coming back to DCG. Not yet, at least. So, alright, that is it for this video. So if you guys like the content of the channel and you guys liked today's video, leave a like. Don't forget to comment and subscribe as well. Hit the notification bell so you guys can be informed of when I do upload more content. You guys can hit me up on social media, as those links are in the description box below. And you guys can check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/Harpie Player Joe, where I am continuing my month of Sonic and doing some more Sonic games. So, thanks everybody for watching. I really do appreciate it. You guys are awesome, and I will catch you guys next time. HPJ signing out. Take care.